everybody. Welcome to the Cantina. Let's settle up and have a round. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Temptation of the Force, not the Temptation of the Force, but Temptation of the Force. A Temptation of the Force. The second, it is. I'll say it right now because this word's going to come up again. It is the horniest Star Wars novel I think we've ever had.
More like the horny Republic.
More on that to come.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that a good way to front sell? We're going to talk about that. Watch three middle-aged guys talk about this.
The rhythm of the tides.
Yep. But we're going to talk about that. It's the second novel in the Phase 3 of the High Republic. We're talking about that by Tessa Gratton. We're going to do what we call a medal ceremony and talk a bit about talk about the ending of the Acolyte and everything going on. Before that, just wanted to mention too, we are recording towards the beginning of Comic-Con. It's happening right now. Still early, so updates are coming in kind of slow, but we know that Star Wars Publishing, which covers the comics and the books, they're going to have their panel tomorrow, which is Thursday. So we will kind of come back around next week and talk about all that news and cover some comics as well. And we'll talk a bit about that at the end. So before that, I think I'm going to do what I always do, which is like we have a great plan, and then Adam's going to completely derail it because I want to do a really quick unboxing video live. I know it's audio, but look what came in the mail
Star
today.
Wars: The Last Command. What am I looking at? It's a giant box.
You're looking at the Black Series Last Command, which has Luke Skywalker, Luke, the Duras Seaboth, and Mara Jade.
Oh, wow. Seaboth's in there too. Wait, who's in the lower right? Let me see the bottom. That's Luke?
So that's Luke. Wow. And then we got Luke, and then we got Mara Jade with two different heads, and then we got Seaboth with hands and lightning hands. Yeah. Sabath. Lightning hand Sabath. I can swap them out.
You can do double
but I'm totally going to swap out.
That's baller, Adam.
I am. And you know who? Do you know who's I'm going to give lightning hands to? Not Sabath. Luke's going to get some lightning hands. That's the way I'm going to do it. So anyway, just wanted to show that. I ordered that months ago, forgot it was happening, and it came yesterday in the mail.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. We're trying to summer's tight for us, so we're trying to be like financially stable, and then suddenly this giant box of like toys come. Like, I just want to be like, by the way, I paid for this months ago when we had money.
It was a grandfathered in purchase. Everything's fine here. How are you?
Sorry, I just been waiting for it's all I've ever wanted is a Luke action figure forever.
And you got it.
So
no, that's a baller set. I didn't even see that on the internet. I didn't know it existed.
Instant purchase.
It was through so that's this is not branded content because why would anyone pay for us to brand content? But it's from Hasbro. They do this like Hasbro Pulse, which if you want to lose money, join the mailing list because they release like limited series black figures. This was no more expensive than if you bought 4 Black Series figures from a store, but like you can get into these like limited runs and other stuff. They have some pretty cool.
Didn't they like
cool
crowdsourced like who their next character they'd make would be and things like that, right? Do they still do that? Yeah,
they do. They just did one which I didn't buy, but it was it was a giant Cantina set. Yeah, but it was all the original series, so like the 6-inch figures, which the vintage, which I like, but it's not I got to choose a lane, or else I'm going to go bankrupt. So, but they just crowdsourced that, and they had like stretch goals, and I think they reached all the stretch goals, which is like it's huge. The set's amazing.
Oh, rad, man. Yeah, I just like looking at all that stuff online. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But they seem to do like a lot of deep cuts. Characters, like anything, like obviously a Jorah Sabath character, like holy cow.
That came out. That was first announced during Ahsoka. Like that's how long ago it took them to announce this, come up with the concept art, and mail it out because this was their big, acknowledging that there's a connection between, the series and the Last Command or the.
That's so funny. That was probably happening when we were covering these novels, like literally.
Yeah. Right around, I believe so.
Wow, man. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Cool. So, medal ceremony, Grant, I have all the categories here, but I know this is your baby. So, you're going to take us through the medal ceremony for Acolyte? Now that we've seen the whole thing, and you know how I am about this stuff where I'm like, I have to see the whole picture before I sort of judge it. And this isn't really a judgy thing.
So
it's just like giving flowers.
So we have medal ceremonies, normally meant for live action series, our live action series reviews or, film reviews.
Yeah.
But I guess we can also use this for novels, and we'll try it out here, which is we'll go through each category and sort of because some of it's best sound, some of it's
Do we need to have another meeting here?
for other aspects of the filmmaking process? No. So
Grant,
Grant,
we're gonna do it. I wanted to do it for Acolyte, not for the book.
for
We'll
Acolyte.
do for Acolyte.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm mostly frantically yelling at you to stop because there's no way
I can't do it for
this
a
book.
because it's like drip. It's like, how do we know who has the best drip? And let's face it, that's the best. And sound design, I don't think it works for novels.
You have to.
Sorry, I didn't make that clear. I wanted to do it for Acolyte as sort of
Let's do it.
Because we did like a 2.5-hour episode last time, and there just wouldn't be enough time for a medal ceremony. But I love these. I think they're fun and like superlatives for this thing.
First category. Is Adam ready?
Thumbs up from Adam.
Chosen one. Standout character of the series.
Right.
Standout character of the series.
If anyone says Basil, I'm leaving the podcast.
I like that, though. Adam, do you want to go first? I think we're going to have the same person.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like 3 different names, so we can each call him by a different name, but I'm going to call him the Stranger.
I chose Chimera.
Yeah, Chimera. Or the Stranger.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like that might be that might be the best standout character of all of live action Star Wars ever at this point, up to this point.
I mean, just the fact that they made a really cool antagonist who I guess he's a protagonist in the series. You can, depending on your point of view, but a dark, like really charismatic dark side person. I mean, I guess we all loved Ray Stevenson as well. I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, that was another. Yeah,
but yeah. What about you, Grant? Do you have an outlier?
I also the Stranger. I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah,
yeah.
You win.
Background player. Is there a secondary or minor character that we sort of admire in this series that's maybe not part of the main, top billing of the series, but they're standout characters as well?
Lots of options here. I've got mine.
Yeah, I've got mine.
Yeah, I've got 2 levels.
Supporting.
Sure
Supporting.
Does that make sense? Supporting. Yeah. Right. Who wants to go
Grant,
first?
go first.
I'm going Jecki. I think Jecki was
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. Like, just the limited time we got with that character was outstanding.
Yeah, they showed so much about her character in very little snippets. Like, even her when she's like air support was cool. Yeah. And then, I mean, her relationship with Osha was like very endearing. I mean, she is a wood chipper with lightsabers in her hand.
Gets 2 lightsabers.
Yep.
And just goes for it. Like,
big grin.
Like gives the Stranger the closest battle, like is the one closest to winning, I feel like, against him.
Yeah, if he didn't have that trick up his sleeve, she might have got him.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Soul really could have cut his head off if he wanted to, but you're right.
Soul is unreal.
Yeah. No, but Master. No, totally.
I love
100%.
Jecki.
Yeah.
It hurt when we lost Jecki.
That hurt so bad.
I still remember I literally were watching it and I went, oh no. Like it was like I don't usually exclaim. Like I'm not an exclaimer when I watch stuff, but like Carly even looked at me and I'm like, come on, it's Jecki. No. Like I knew it was
think
happening,
that's the
but,
second most like hurtful death in Star Wars next to that Ewok from Return of the Jedi. Like that's as far as like crushing blows, I think that was that Jecki was second, which is so first.
What's the name of the Rancor?
Oh, yeah,
I can't remember
Rancor.
its name.
Yeah,
I almost had it.
too.
Mostly because of the Rancor. Like I still, with this day, that's the saddest I ever was watching the Rancor keeper cry over his dead pet.
Cute pet.
Yeah.
So edgelord here, pick. I'm going Yord.
Yord's a solid pick,
dude. He's like kind of annoying by design, but it's like he's just flawed, man. The guy's like he's just that try hard Jedi that it's like might be what it was like to be around Obi-Wan, but probably not because he's so smooth. But like, it's like, and they're like, these tryhards exist now. It's just a different, but it was a very stylized, distinct flavor of Jedi that I had never seen before. And, you could see like when he showed his human side, which Leslie did well in spots. You're like, dude, you feel for the guy. And again, poor Yord.
Yeah. No, Yord's up there for that reason. Like they for a character that started very one dimension and I was just like kind of a joke, to be honest, they gave him redemptions or moments of like you said, humanity that I really appreciated. That by the end, like even when he died, you're like, oh man, not that guy. Like he actually had a good heart. He, he's a bit of a tryhard, like you said, but good intentions and wanted the best for everyone. I feel like, I agree with all these. They're definitely on my top of the list. But I mean, come on, you give a Wookiee a lightsaber and make him a Jedi, and how is that not my favorite character? Granted, I would have liked to see more, and maybe it wasn't the best use of him, but Keldaka, just for existing, is always going to be.
I can't wait to get more in his comic series that's coming up.
That's right.
Rad, man.
Utini shot, best shot of the series. Maybe favorite sequence.
Grant, I bet you have one in your back pocket. I need to think about this a second.
Take
same.
Do you have one in your back pocket, Grant? I just need a couple seconds.
Ben Bird's Best Blaster Bolt Barrage Award for Best Sound Effect in the series.
I don't necessarily have like a specific one I can pull out, but they did a spectacular job with just the lightsaber on lightsaber sounds. In this episode, in this show, like there's so many, and especially in that last episode, that we'll talk about this probably in other parts, but like they gave us so many different flavors of lightsaber duels, and in the last episode with that prolonged Soul Chimere lightsaber duel, I thought we got a lot of really good lightsaber locking sounds, which is one of my favorite sounds. And then and then the lightsaber bleeding the crystal was also pretty
that's new,
good, kind of another sounds familiar but a slightly different sound than what we've heard before.
I like the sort of Matrix movement sound effects when like they sort of slow time and they jump out of space and like do the force moves. I thought it was, it's a basic sound, but I make about 1 million whooshes a year, and it's like I've never made a perfect whoosh, and I felt like that's the perfect whoosh for that, like that sound.
Yeah. I also love just the Stranger's vocoder, right? Like just hearing that gravelly, deep voice. It's really fun.
Yeah. I have a feeling we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, the vocoder was top-notch work on that, because that can be hard, right? Vocoders can be tough.
It was great
in stuff, but I thought they did a great job. Yeah,
I think I have a scene now if we want to do the Utini shot.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
It's just aping what you just said. It's when Osha puts on the helmet, and it's like the interior of Chimere's helmet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And not much to look at there.
That's really good.
I don't know. I still thought it was cool.
No, done well. Darkness is effective. And mine's actually also a scene of darkness. And it's when I think it's in, I can't remember if it's in night. No, it's at the very end of day. Is that the first episode?
4.
It goes day, then
4 is day, 5
day,
is night.
and then it's night. Yeah. So at the very end of day, when the stranger comes down behind. Like it's to me, because they're just aping horror films, and it's and like the J horror films in a lot of ways of just like which now we've Americanized through A24 does a lot of that version, but like Japanese J horror films love this idea of just like things subtly happening in the background or in the corner of a frame. Like Hereditary does such a good job of like watch that movie and just watch the corners.
Yeah.
And you will be scared for the rest of your life. Like I love any use of corners or background. And it was chilling. It was very
Hill
spooky.
House. It's all that. That's the whole show.
So I was just I've just been watching The Haunting of Bly Manor, the second one of that, and very similar. Like yes, Mike Flanagan loves that trick of just watch the background.
Oh my gosh, it makes my skin
forever.
Yeah.
I just as a side note, as a person who watches lots of horror films, your your whole setup is a trigger for me.
Oh, because
because there's a dark background right behind you, and I just keep waiting for a face to emerge. From
and like, so did
right
Jenny
there.
just freak you out? She took the dog for a walk. She just
occasionally Jenny
emerged from
will.
the
Yes, that
darkness.
will happen where I'll see her walk by and I'm like, no, that's just Jenny.
Yeah, if there's a favorite conceptual shot for me, it's probably Saul chasing May through the asteroid field and sort of just like what they accomplished there, because that is just stunning.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like visuals.
Yep.
But Chimere, I think either catching the blow from Saul in episode 5 or when he first sort of like is crossing both his sabers, like some of that footage is just out of control. Like it's kind of like Sith stuff that we haven't had yet. That's like beginning, I would say.
Yep.
And sort of like Leslie Headland is sort of tapping into, I think, what could be a really fun direction for Star Wars. Just lots of Sith perspective.
Yeah.
Right on, man. What's the next category we got here?
Sunless Space Award for Best Dialogue or Quote of the series.
Ooh.
I got mine because I say it all the time. But you brought her here. You brought her here. It's my favorite.
That's so disturbing.
It's
That was a really
like
horror. That was like a horror sort of moment there, for sure.
But it's like a perfect Sith line too, of just like, I may have killed her, but that's some Sith. That's what I do. Like you put her in front of my blades. Like you brought her here. Her death is on your hands. And I feel like that rocked Soul for the remainder of this entire series. I think Soul is off balance for the remainder of the series because of that one line.
Yeah. There's a bunch of Chimere lines that are just out of control. They're really, really beautiful and just perfect for sort of Star Wars, just new sort of dark side perspective that's actually giving it a voice that then you can do some sort of philosophical countering with the Jedi at some point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember Torben's last words. Actually, that scene was really powerful when he comes out of the bearish vow and I think he just apologizes and takes the serum. I don't know, that hit hard for me emotionally.
Yeah. Like a Jedi willingly in a different way, right? The different than Obi-Wan way, right? It's not like this is gonna like make me more powerful or help this or do anything other than you got me. I deserve it. Here I go.
Yeah.
And Mother Anastasia, obviously, with the it's about power and who's allowed to wield it sort of line.
Yeah, which was like a that was a trailer line, right? That was a line in the trailer that I loved. Like I think that's such a great
best drip, best outfit of the series.
Easy.
What do you got?
I think Chimere's drip is amazing.
Yeah, Chimere's white drip or Chimere's like phantom drip?
His phantom drip, but his phantom drip has like stages, and each stage is amazing. Like, I like his weird cowl that he wears over it, like to just be like a wraith. But then when he goes into like fighting mode, into the sleeveless, it's like, look out. And the helmet design, it's like the teeth are made out of a piece of tubing. But like that helmet design is so good. It's so good.
I really wanted to dislike it. I don't know why I'm saying it that way, but in terms of like, I saw it the first time and I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing with the teeth on the thing? And then it wasn't for me at first, but it grew on me. I think he sold. I think the lines and the vocoder made me think it was scarier than I thought it was originally, right before I knew what it was. So I appreciate that. I really like Osha's final outfit.
Yeah,
like her take on
the dark side Osha.
Yeah, I really like that a lot.
With the shoulderless black hoodie, that's like actually looks very much like something Kylo Ren would wear. But
it's very Kylo.
No, I really like that fit.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay, we got to select different fits. That's these are all just perfect picks. But let me think for a second. Best drip. The Jedi drip is so good. Like Vernestra Rowe, like just some of the drip that I've
first time seeing live action High Republic did not let down on what it looked like. I appreciate that. Yep.
Yeah, Vern's drip.
I think Soul's drip and like Indara's drip. I think like Jedi Master drip that's just displayed in the show is sort of what I'm all about.
Yeah, I Indara's is probably the most like original trilogy. I really like Indara's drip. I like.
It's it's really very close too.
It's like more humble. I don't think she's wearing the gold like Talbert. She's gone into monk mode, which is indicative of who she is as a character. It turns out. But yeah, definitely Indara. But I mean, that's just because it's
Soul
an
has
outlier.
I just like the gadgetry and the belts and all that stuff. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, did you pick? Yeah, you picked. This weapon is your life award, best weapon, gadget, or item featured in the series.
It's gonna be another 3-fer, or what do you think?
Pip,
What do you?
I thought Pip was really cool.
Oh, interesting. All right, I like Pip a lot too. I just thought we all might go for the same thing. Pip is great. I'm always shocked. They always find a new way to do a droid, right? Like a new way to do something.
But he's a droid and a tool at the same time,
cool.
so I'm picking,
Yeah, and a droid.
That's our
tool,
B2 Emo
a pet,
needs a hug
like
award for best droid.
Well, then, there's really
coming
only one
up.
answer for that.
No,
Actually, no, I have a different answer for that.
No, I also think you have answers for both because I agree with you. Like Pip is used more as a tool than a droid, I would say, in the show. So I'd agree with that. But it's also the fact that like in a couple episodes of rough episodes, they kill the droid. Let's not forget they kill Pip. Pip is dead.
Memory wipe.
It's tough for Pip.
Memory wipe, yeah, completely. Like factory reset, like not like just completely back to defaults. I was just gonna say, well, I guess so. Would a weapon fall under this? Right? Yeah. So it's to me, it's Chimere's mini lightsaber, right? Like his like just because again, similarly, like every time I'm like, well, I've seen every lightsaber I could possibly see, every little like iteration on this thing, and they find a way, and the reveal, like to reveal, like okay. So one of my biggest complaints about the Phantom Menace, that's a weird statement. I don't know. That's overstated. But one of the things that still to this day kind of drives me nuts about it is the fact that they decide to reveal Darth Maul's double lightsaber in the trailer. In the trailer. It's still to this day, it drives me nuts because that is a breathtaking moment. It looks beautiful. We saw it on the big screen again. It looks amazing. But like knowing that was coming, I just wish I could imagine how amazed I would have been if I was just sitting there not knowing that was coming and watch a second lightsaber come. So similar, like I felt like we never knew this was coming, and to reveal it in the most Sith way you ever could reveal a weapon, which is like
works?
By using it to stab a child. Again, not to get too gruesome, but like it's I don't know. I just love it, and the fact that it wasn't just a one-off, that it came back around in episode 8. And we got to see him use it a lot more. I really appreciated that. Like we saw it pulled into his fighting styles. Yeah, it wasn't just like
cool. What about you, Grant?
Bust out that secondary saber. It's hard not to say Chimere's lightsaber. I'm gonna say I would say
we can say the same things if that's
maybe Kelnaka's lightsaber. That's like pretty cool looking.
Yeah,
I just liked how big it was. Yeah. It was pretty badass. Pretty cool.
I do love it. Yeah, it makes me feel like
I have a very like cynical view of why the lightsabers look the way they look. So I'm going to push that to the side and just say, overall, actually, I really like the fact that all the lightsabers look a little different. They're like super chunky. They have like an aesthetic that I wouldn't have expected. It's actually pretty plain and utilitarian, but it's like kind of brutalist, and it's like. I loved the lightsaber designs in here because they were all different. But they were like each other. And that's really hard to do.
Now, can we get your cynical take?
Wait.
Because I think, wait, I want Ben to say it because I think it worked on me and I'm going to get angry. Ben, what's the cynical take?
I don't want to bust your good time.
No, do it.
Because Disney has a proprietary design on lightsabers and they need to be fatter than like what the like common ones are.
Yeah, because when you build them at Galaxy's Edge, right? Because literally my thought was what I love about this is it worked on me because I'm going to totally build myself next time I go to Galaxy's Edge. I'm going to build myself a a Kalnaka, like a Wookiee
Actually, I wasn't thinking Savvy's Design Shop where you make them there, but they use that same technology with the.
They use the same thing
with the
right.
The models that you can buy in the stores, where you can buy the classics. So the classic versions they're different than any other lightsaber you can buy on the market, but which is cool because you can just pop the saber right in, and there's no screws or anything. It's like really fast and cool,
right? Which is similar to the ones that you get at Galaxy's Edge.
But the downside is they're chunky. Yeah, they don't fit.
They're very
at least
chunky.
My hands. The ones that you buy online are more like realistic, like prop replica size of like the OT and stuff. And so it's like the lightsaber subreddit was all over that as soon as
Can I change my pick?
Yes.
Can I do Chimera's helmet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cortosis helmet.
Yeah.
Because it is a Cortosis helmet. It serves a purpose. Good point, Grant. That's the other thing about that helmet is like, okay, I don't want to open a bag of worms, but like Kylo Ren's helmet is just there because he thinks it looks cool and he has a grandfather fetish. And so like that's his whole thing.
Sorry.
Nice.
So like, which again, fine for the storytelling. They do that with the character, but I like the fact that again they're like, okay, we have to get a dark side user, we have to put him in a helmet, but we have to have a reason for him to wear the helmet. And you kind of get the Kylo Ren. He takes off his helmet, and there's a beautiful looking person underneath that helmet.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like he's scarred and needs it to breathe, but he's using it to block out.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I like it. Like it was a good way to.
Okay, I have a favorite quote now. It's when Soul's like, why are you revealing yourself? He's like, well, I was wearing a helmet.
Yeah. That was
yes, I forgot about that line.
I was wearing a mask. He's like, I wasn't trying to reveal myself, honestly. Rad.
All right. Don't try it award. Worst decision made by a character in the series.
This is an easy one for me. It's like, I mean, the ultimate sin of the series, right? Like it's Soul just like reacting by stabbing what he doesn't understand. Just stabbing.
Soul is like adamant about taking one of these children.
Yeah, so much so that he's like, you're endangering this weird cosmic mission I've given myself, and so I'm going to stab you.
Yes, you have raised these children from birth.
But I think you're good.
Now I'm here for 30 seconds and you do something weird and I'm going to kill you, as opposed to like, maybe this is something I need to understand, considering that these children seem to be healthy and well grown and have been physically damaged or killed. No, I agree. I think that's the number one, which again, I understand it from a storytelling standpoint. Like I get it, right? Like I don't bump up against it from the story point, but yes. Worst decision in the entire.
I mean, it was the whole series was that.
Yeah.
Memeable moment award. It's got to be Plagueis in the cave.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes, 100%. So I am not meant to make memes because my brain doesn't think that way. But literally, I've been doing the meme on this podcast to everyone else, hello, like. I've been living that meme for the past 2 weeks where I literally would do that to Carly. And she's like, I don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, I'm doing Plagueis in the cave.
Plagueis in the cave.
That's just an all around, good response to anything.
100%. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a second best, but I can't. It's just so I told you guys that's going to be my response to everything.
I will say I've seen
Plagueis.
Kalnaka flying through the air might be like just complete. I don't know.
Yeah.
When he draws the lightsaber and like jumps like 100 feet or something. That's pretty...
I will say that the other meme that I've seen that has gotten stuck in my head, but that's because I'm a bit of a punker, is that like there's a line and they show it that Jecki was a Jedi. That line is very close to the same still as Judy's a Punk, which is a Ramones song. So someone put that in a feed, and my brain has been broken since that episode where I just will sing Jecki was a Jedi to Judy was a punk constantly.
Okay.
So that song's forever ruined now.
I can see myself using the Torben's eyes going like...
Black. Yes.
Take it over.
Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh! It's like every time we mention the Last Jedi, it's just like. Oh yeah, good times.
Or Kyber hanging upside down. There's some stuff. There's some good stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. There's a lot for something I didn't think there was a lot, and the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh, there's so many moments in the show. Yeah.
Spectacular Species Award. New humanoid species. Like
I mean, I don't love the bugs that play a role in the plot. I mean, they're fine, they're cool, but they don't. I'm not like, oh, that was so cool, you know.
Nope.
I mean,
yeah, they felt like on we've seen more in live action before of like live action creatures, and this is just like
I think that's our convincing creature award. That's category.
Oh well, so let's skip ahead. There's no convincing creature.
Like new,
to go back.
New species, new humanoid.
New species, right? It could be anything. Oh, so there's a million of these. There's a million of these because that first cantina scene. There's all these new species that we've never seen before, which is really cool. It made me uncomfortable with that like prisoner that had like the head tentacle.
Oh yeah.
That was like, I mean, that was wild. I don't know if it grossed me out, but I mean, that's a feeling.
I love that pick because I forgot about that character, and that's like a crazy new like, alien species.
Yeah. But I mean, like pretty much everyone, there wasn't a Twi'lek to be seen anywhere in this, and I love that.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I know it's not new, but and I'm actually keep harping on the reveal of Dark Plagueis, but to see another Munilist like live action, because again, it's one of my favorite things in episode 2. But to get a little more and actually see them because to me they're kind of funny in episode 2, and I appreciate the humor, and to reveal them in a way that's like, oh yeah, that could be a scary looking thing, like that could be intimidating. Whatever Basil is a thing, I guess.
But you see a cell cat sitting by a door at the Jedi Temple.
Oh, right.
Yeah. One of those. It's the they're the aliens from Knights of the Old Republic. They're one of those. They're on Manon, sort of like a healing culto refinery.
What do they look like?
They look like Mon Calamari and Quarren. They're kind of like amphibian.
Oh, okay.
Another like fishy. And then Jackie. What was Jackie? Jackie
half
was
feline, half human.
Thelan. Yeah.
Yep. So in the book we're about to review, there is a half Thelan mentioned as well. I guess there was one from Expanded Universe that Leslie fell in love with, and she just like really wanted to do a half Thelan. Like that's how hardcore of a dork she is. She's like, I've always wanted a half Thelan in my story. It's like, has there ever been a dorkier sentence of that? And I respect it so much.
I really like that makeup and like what that looks like. I think that's a really cool species.
Yeah. I mean, that actor is having a moment, right? She was in that. She might be in another giant film that's coming out soon.
Okay.
If they're doing all of the cameos, I think they're probably going to be doing in Deadpool Wolverine. I'm guessing she's in it. I have no insider information, but I would bet people $100 right now she's in it.
I'm slightly worried, but then again, we've got the Fantastic Four will be that reset button.
I mean, it's Deadpool. It's not going to do anything other than be a fun. Oh, I almost swore real bad, but like let's. It's Deadpool is not meant to save the Marvel universe. That's never his job.
I've enjoyed
entertaining, but like we'll see. Yeah, that's all I expect. I just want an enjoying film that's going to make me laugh and not reset the canon. That's what Fantastic Four is about. Fantastic Four will save the Marvel universe.
Convincing Creature Award, best creature of the series.
I have one for this.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
Sorry,
Baldemnik or Unknown Planet.
Oh, the little mice?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, those were cute. They're good memory, man. Those were just like in like a couple scenes.
I still don't remember them.
Did they have like 4 years or something?
They were like these little baby like rock mice. Right?
I believe
on
you.
Baldemic,
I
you
believe
mean
you.
they were like anteater
Strangers
rock
one.
birds.
Oh, right. The
Yeah,
anteater
those were
weird.
cool.
Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
Those are great.
I thought
Yep.
I was thinking
That's mine
there
too.
were mice in the castle on Bartok or something. And, oh God. Yeah, that's great. So mine is actually the like parasite that goes on people's mouths to chill them out for like, and like makes them trip face. Yeah, that one was that was like a wild, cool idea to just like weave into the story.
I resent that one because I feel like that was the moment that I went galaxy brain on the whole series, and it threw me off for like 4 episodes.
Adam thought that was going to
because that was the moment I was like,
take over.
Do you remember I kept coming back where I'm like, things are not what we think, dude. Like I really was like, I felt like Charlie with the strings from It's Always Sunny. Like this show, the first half of the season of the show. That's the reason I need to rewatch it, because I really went down. I felt like I was in a parking garage talking to Deep Throat like halfway through the season. Like I really like where it took me, and I think it did go an interesting way, but boy, didn't it did not go as wacky or wild as I was expecting. Yeah. in a good way. I think
Occam's
it did it right,
razor
but
did.
I was just like, yeah. Yeah, and I usually am really good at that in this show. I think it's just like Leslie Ho's like, this is not the show you think it is. Yeah. And I'm like, well, it kind of turned out to be the show I thought it was.
Pretty. I mean,
yeah, and Yoda was in it, and you said he wasn't in it. Like, oh, that's right. You totally can lie, and you're allowed to do that, and you should do that.
Right. One more.
One with the Force Award, best Force moment of the series.
Lots to pick from here. I'm just gonna throw one out there. Indira, like, it's not the best. I just liked it.
Oh, her jumping over the railing.
But it's the best to you. That's all right. It doesn't have to be like the
I want to think
objectively
a little more.
best. Like,
I mean, it was a standout to me.
Right.
It was like she used the Force to stop May from stabbing her, and she like Force stopped the stab, which was like just. I mean, I don't know. It looked cool.
Well, that whole fight was really good because they used a ton of that. Like, I like the fact that this series actually did a thing where it did this. They did storytelling through fight choreography, where every single character had a different fight technique, and it wasn't just the same thing. Like, I like that I could tell each person's connection with the Force based on how they used the Force in fighting. It was really well done.
Force kung fu
in that way.
Because like there were like that was all over this series of just like hand to hand Force like enhanced combat, and I was like, I've always wanted to see that. I've never known if they could do it or not.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. No, I agree. Like, I thought, again, Leslie said a lot of things leading up to the show, but her comment about seeing lightsaber duels, nothing since you've seen since the prequels. I think she lived up to that, especially like the ability you can do on the small screen. She went above and beyond what I could have expected. I think for like Force stuff, it's hard for me not to say the bleeding of the Kyber crystal, just because we haven't seen that. Like, just to see that in live action and have my wife go and be like, what? Like, again, like, just to know, like, my wife doesn't know what bleeding like, again, she watches all the live action stuff. If you think about that, there's no reason for her to understand, because then I was able to have a conversation with her about Ahsoka and why Ahsoka's crystals are white, and she was like actually listening to what I was saying and interested about Star Wars stuff, because it's all connected. But like that moment to like see that, that's something I never thought I would see live action. So,
and it made so much sense, right? Like, if you like, and now I'm thinking it from Carly's point of view, where you've never heard of, like, reading about it, you're like, okay, or I was like, all right, but like when you're just like, oh, you're having a moment and you're touching a crystal, you corrupt it because it's just, that's part of the Force bond with those like living crystals, and it just looks made so much sense, right?
It made sense to her. She didn't think like that. She's like, I never questioned where red lightsabers, like red kyber crystals, come from, because why would you? But that moment, I was like, oh, like,
I mean,
it felt super earned when that happened. It just felt like it was set up. It was the truth comes out, and then you just felt like that was a defining moment in Osha's story.
Did Charles Sewell invent the bled crystal? Because I think the first time we saw it was in that Vader comic book series. Early.
I thought it was in the Ahsoka novel.
Might be
first.
Oh,
it definitely was in the Ahsoka, because I think it was they did the reverse, right? Because they did the reverse of her cleansing a kyber crystal, which is why, white? Or it turns white. Which again, okay, guys, I'm just gonna say this again. I really wish in Ahsoka season 1, after she had her moment of like realizing she's a Jedi again, when she reignited his lightsabers, they should have been colored because she had infused them. Like it should be an opposite
like
to
light
anyway,
side infuse. I kind of like it the way it is. It's just sort of it's like if you're given the dark side, it's red, but if you heal them, it doesn't do anything more than white. It's like almost like now you have to live in a temple for the rest of your life.
Yeah, now it's like
there's so much PTSD on the crystal. It's just like I'm white now, and that's it. I'm a survivor.
No, I like that too. You're completely back. Yeah. I just think that would have been powerful visual storytelling.
Anyways, back to forced moments in the show. I'm surprised we didn't take Chimera just straight up flying around. That was wild.
It's
like
right?
Yeah, and then Soul just doing that sort of like forced blast at the end, sort of 360. Sort of force push was pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Just incredible force stuff.
Yeah.
I like again. It's that reverse jump he did. Like when he jumped out backwards out of the gangway and onto the ground below. I don't know, something about that I thought was really cool. But yeah, again, actually, Grant, you mentioned it. I saw it again recently. I started rewatching episode 1, and the way that May jumps up into the second deck of that cantina. It's really cool how they do it. She kind of swings up, but then force pushes her momentum to get her over the railing, and it looks amazing. I'm nerding hard.
Yeah. No, I agree. So my mind went a million places, as it does, because this is what my brain does. Where I'm just that reminded me of the time we were at we saw that sneak preview of the Acolyte, right, when we went to the marathon. Which for some reason they made me think of when's the next thing that we talk about, which is Skeleton Crew, and I don't want to complete Skeleton Crew. They finally released an official poster.
They did.
Take a look. It is so many aliens and droids just on the front of the poster.
Okay.
It looks, and kids and also not a Clive Owen to be seen.
You mean Jude Law?
Jude Law, but come on, they're kind of the same person, right? I can say that because they're British. It's British. It's okay. I'm talking about
that might be racist. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say things like that.
No, they're the colonialists. I can say it all I want. They're the colonists. It's fine.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right. This is exciting.
It looks very Amblin, right? Sorry to do this late breaking that just popped in my brain, but it looks
wow. There was no date on it though.
No date. But it's definitely it's going to be end of the year, because the person who did it kept talking about wanting this to be a Christmas rewatch. He wants people to watch this every Christmas. So I'm guessing it's going to come out, November. It's going to be post they're going to do Agatha, and then it's going to be this. Anyway, sorry to derail us, but yeah, right?
I think Skeleton Crew is going to be a blast.
So honestly. I like all the kids, I like all the aliens, all the droids,
We looks like we have a new species.
Yep.
It can sort of have that classic Star Wars tone too. It doesn't I almost wished the Acolyte delved a little deeper into the dark side in the series, and sort of escape some of the bombast, but it sort of does capture the classic feel of Star Wars. But Skeleton Crew really can play into the high adventure of it all.
I think so. I think it's going to be the one that it gets in some ways closest to the tone of the original trilogy, reminding ourselves that it is a as George likes to say, it's a movie for kids, but it's I think the kids, and I like to kind of rephrase that of the kid in all of us, right? There's adult stuff there, and watching stuff with my daughter, reminding kids, that doesn't mean you can't tell high level stories and scary stuff. Kids like to be scared. Taking my daughter on multiple rides at theme parks, going, oh wow, a 4-year-old can handle a lot more than I thought they could handle, because I accidentally took them on rides I probably shouldn't have taken them on.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean, a lot scarier than I remember, but boy, did my 4-year-old love it. And I'm like, that's pretty horrific over there. Oh no, you like skeletons and the crow pecking the guy in the head. Okay, cool. Good to know. Kids like dark things too.
Yeah, my friend's 3-year-old watched Thriller and now only watches Thriller.
Fascinating. Right?
Only watches Thriller. Favorite thing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I don't know. Anywho, I'm really looking forward to that. I could use a heartwarming Star Wars journey where the Jedi are good and bad people are bad, and like that's fine.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting the thing that I've always wanted, which is different types of stories in the Star Wars universe. Like, just keep doing it. Yeah.
That's pretty much it for awards. I mean, there's a couple others here, but I think we should get into the book.
45 minutes in, we should probably do what we're here to do. Yeah, not to sell these books short. Tessa Gratton, High Republic. I didn't know what to expect from this. This isn't like one of the main quote unquote novels, but it's like if you're really interested in like following along with what's going on in the High Republic, you have to read these sort of. What do they call them? Young adult.
This book was like you need to. Yeah, you would have had to have read the prior. two novels.
Yeah, the last one too. Defy the Storm was like necessary.
Yeah, but to read that. I gotta jump in with a correction. This is the main run novel.
Okay.
Oh, this is a novel.
Right. This is I always want to call it. It is called the adult novel, but that sounds different than what it is, especially with this one. But it is like the novels, right? The adult novels. Yeah. This is the second in the one, and this is the second to last. This is the penultimate novel in the High Republic, and then we get Trials of the Jedi in the spring by Sewell, talking to Sewell again, who's like, I am very happy he's gonna land this whole thing, but like this is the adult novel.
Stuff goes down in this where I was terrified. I was like, are we about to lose this major Jedi character? No, we're not, thank goodness. But
well,
I do wonder
not to like, I'm not like hoping for bloodshed, but I will say at the end of phase 1, when we lost Starlight Beacon, it is still shocking to me how many people actually made it out alive of Starlight Beacon fallen. And then like, I feel like we've had like one major death amongst our major characters in a lot of ways. And that's kind of getting to the end of this episode or end of this novel, spoiler alert, and we'll talk about it all, but like they're going to kill some major characters. And I'm like, oh no, everyone makes it out alive. Anyway, sorry.
For the thing. Can we do a quick, just like bullet point summary of what even happened here? I'm going to try and do it off the dome, and you guys just fill in the blanks. So there's the occlusion zone. They figured out a subversive way to get in and out.
Should we back up for a second? Should we back up and say what the occlusion wall and
the
storm wall is for a second? So the occlusion zone. So basically the Nihil found a way to cut off the rest of the galaxy from a certain area of the galaxy,
a giant
section, which is called the occlusion zone, and the storm wall is the thing surrounding that zone, which doesn't let people through.
Right, it's a series of beacons, whatever. It disrupts hyperspace, and you crash into a star.
Science.
Something science.
Tech, as they say in Star Trek.
Fascinating, the tech that's discussed in this.
Yeah.
Right. So we learned in the
engines and all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually really cool, right?
Yeah.
But so we learned in the last book that they've now found a sort of hack to get through after a year of trying to get through it and not being able to. And then they're working to come up with it. Elzar and Avar are together. They're doing their thing. They're working on a way to get through. They do get through the occlusion zone. They find a way to get a whole ship through. Again, this is me trying to do this, and I read this like a month ago, so I'm trying to like.
I think Avon.
You read this like a month ago on a beach.
And Xylem Graph sort of crack it, and then Elzar and Avar are on the third horizon, going to find the lightning crash.
Right. That's the main station that's like one of the governing stations. They've recruited Xylem Graph, who's like who built this station. Avon Sunvale is her, also known as Avon Staros. Right. It's her tech that sort of did this, and but now they're working together to try to. And
Gira Staros, her mother, is
a senator,
on the side of Marchion Row, and sort of the bad guys in the narrative here.
Yeah.
Yes, and she's pretending like she's a senator from the occlusion zone to like try and legitimize their takeover of this whole part of the galaxy. And she's the worst, pretty much. But she's just, I mean, as All in the Hill are, it's just like you're fighting tooth and nail to just save yourself the whole time. And this is her angle.
I do love how much the worst she is, though. She's just like, she's so dumb. Like the fact that she actually thinks that, well, I can't think of his name, the main bad guy.
Martian Rowe.
Martian Rowe actually wants to be legitimized. Is just like, or he can be controlled. Where I'm just like, I'm kind of in the Martian Rowe. Like I'm kind of enjoying Martian Rowe at this point because he's a nihilist as his name suggests. He just wants to mess with the Republic. Like he doesn't want legitimacy. He just wants to keep effing with them, and I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, he's like the Joker. He wants to watch the world burn.
It's very true. It's the closest thing you'll get to the Joker in Star Wars. Yeah.
So it was introduced in Defy the Storm was the Blight. So this is a new antagonist, and it's pretty much the same thing that happens when a Jedi runs into a Nameless, but it's everywhere. It's just all the living things turn to chalk and die. And it seems to be happening in places where there have been Drengir.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing
is Buryaga and Bel Zettifar, like top 10 teams in Star Wars history. They're dealing with this. And
Buryaga not letting me down as a Wookiee Jedi, like got his day.
He's a boss.
In this, like I'm like, yes, this entire series is going to revolve around Buryaga's ability to fight the Nameless. And I'm like, yes. Like, yeah, by the way, it is about, I don't know, being empathy and being tapped into your emotions and actually being able to feel your emotions. That might be an important thing. Sorry.
Right, because we get our best introspection into the Nameless with that Buryaga chapter.
Yeah.
Where he's basically confronting the Nameless and it's sort of like
dead Nameless.
Talking about the hunger and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the dead Nameless, he was just like, oh my gosh. And then he's the one that discovers ultimately, and this is the end of the book, what the Blight is. And it says he's trying to identify the feeling that he feels from it. And at the end, he says it's homesickness, which is fascinating.
Right?
Yeah, really
cool.
Yeah.
So I do think Buryaga is kind of the linchpin.
Yeah, because
to the Nameless.
He's talking to the trees in the beginning of this book too. I love how Tessa Groton sort of captures the Wookiee.
Yep.
She had a home run on this, man. Like I've liked her other books, but this is far and away my favorite thing she's done.
Especially, she could have very easily. Any author could have very easily crumbled under the weight of the 20 books or so that came before this, because we are now at the end game where they're weaving in. It is not possible just to read the adult novels and understand what's happening in the High Republic. I'm sorry, it just is not. They claim it is, but
they always do like a summary paragraph of like, blah, blah, blah happened. And like, in case you didn't read Defy the Storm, blah, 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 here it is.
Okay. Yes. This reminds me of a Brandon Sanderson book where I read a book, like I read a 70-page novella. Before I did that, I read for 45 minutes, I read the summaries of the 4 books that came before it in order to remind myself what I had to do to read this. So like, yes, technically you can read a paragraph, but really you need to read 45 minutes.
Right.
I'm not trying to say that
you're right.
I'm not trying to like, I don't want to scare people away. This is worth reading, but
yeah, it's great. They're great books.
We talked about this years ago when they announced this. Like, is this their foray into high fantasy? And it is. This is a high fantasy epic where they are writing so many more books, and this is working better than the last time Star Wars tried this, which was the New Jedi Order. Yeah. I very blanked the name of the bad guys out of my brain. The Yuzhan Vong. The Yuzhan Vong. Like this, because it's had a better thought out, but like it is dense. And to the point where I've read all these books, I've gone on Wikipedia, and I will still have to like, as it's being read to me, because I have to do audiobooks, I'm hopping on Wikipedia to be like, who's this then now? Oh, that's right. This is the person that we've spent most of the time in the comics with, like, which is interesting. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, and then the cherry on top. This is the other narrative.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Are you getting to it?
Also coming
Porterangle,
coming out of the
Blade of
comics.
Bardata.
Let us
coming straight out of the comics.
We're gonna get the resolution of the comics in novel form.
Right.
Porter Engle is back.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, we get first scene Porter Engle, and you're like, oh, it's like that.
More Porter Engle than I ever could have imagined in this book.
That's when I kept
phenomenal.
I liked this book a lot, but I kept perking up whenever the next chapter was starting to be a Porter Engle chapter. I'm like, yeah, let's go back to see how this guy's hunt for vengeance is doing.
He's like a rage-filled warrior, looking for vengeance. It's so cool. It's like a revenge-o-matic with Porter Engle and General Vice.
Vice.
Vice, I don't know.
That's the German way to pronounce it.
Vice? I think it's Vice if I'm listening. If I remember,
that's my head.
How it was read to me.
Yeah, I mean it's wild because it's like Porter Engle's 10% of this book, right? And it's all about his pursuit of General Vice, coming off of the shoulders of 2 books ago, where they had like a death match, and like she killed his partner, right? Baresh, right?
Adopted sister, right? I think is the way they've decided their relationship is, but relationships are real wacky when it comes to the Jedi. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, soon.
Right. And we saw that in the comic thing. So they're both long living,
but like
species apparently.
Yeah.
And this is like 300 years later, something 200 years later.
Yes, because this takes place.
Something like that.
Yeah, because this is after the prequels that were the second phase. But spoiler. I mean, again, we're talking about all very early in the end of this book. She reveals that Barish is still. Or at least suggests or lies or says, I know where your sister is, right? Like, I know where Barish is. So, also, side note is Barish that's the Barish vow. That's all throughout the Acolyte is named after this character.
Yeah. This character, right.
Barish Sylvain.
Barish Sylvain.
The character's
right.
name. Yeah.
So, anyways, my point here is that he's only 10% of this novel, but like the rest of this novel is all about people dealing with the like real intricacies of attachment and what it means to be a true Jedi, and going through all this like parsing of rules and feelings, and a bunch of really deep stuff that I really enjoy, because this is a conversation that I would have forever with people.
Yep. Yeah.
And Porter Engle is just like, nah, I'm just going to do this because I want to. It's like completely devoid of any of that Jedi stuff. He's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna just kill this person.
Yeah,
I think how Porter Engle's like, that's great for Porter Engle, and starts talking in the third person, like Porter Engle's dead because he's just now a revenge-o-matic.
Yeah, which is awesome, because that's the best flavor of this character. It's like, I don't want to see I don't want him to be a daimyo on Tatooine. I want to see him go on a revenge murder spree. And we kind of get that, but ultimately there's no resolution.
And just fighting General Vice, and then it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Just incredible action.
Yes.
Prose, I would say, and descriptions.
And just being in Porter's mind is so fun. It's sort of like,
so cool.
Yeah, it's like being in the head of like an action hero in like, your favorite action movie.
That's so what I'll say is like, I feel like this is maybe the best named book of the series, for a series that the titles are sometimes hard to parse apart in terms of what they mean. But like, I joked at the beginning, we talked about it before recording, but it's like, is this Temptation of the Force or The Temptation of the Force? I would actually title it The Temptation of the Force, because I think the through line of this book is they're all tempted by the Force in different ways. And like Porter Engle's tempted by the power of the Force, to use the Force as a method of revenge, right? Yeah. And we have Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann tempted by the Force. Like I feel like every character is going through a temptation of a different way, which I really appreciate. The thing that frustrates me, and this is not a dig on the book, but more on a larger scale that I've talked about, how much I want the Rey movie to have a discussion about attachments, where this book, frustratingly, for me, not for the way it's written, I think it's written perfectly in the way it's doing this, but like what frustrates me is everyone's having an eternal conversation about attachment, or basically two horny people who are basically adult virgins who haven't had many emotional reactions, having a conversation justifying themselves why a promise ring and doing it in certain ways doesn't really count.
Yeah,
like
we're just gonna do butt stuff,
right? Thank you for saying it. That's all I kept thinking through this entire film, was like two Christian virgins doing, acknowledging everything they can do that doesn't quite count as sex, but anyway, which
they do have sex though.
They do. They do, which is great.
Yeah. Can I bring the quote into this real
Please.
quick? I'm sorry, Grant.
No,
I feel like I'm not.
Wait, where's the quote for that happening? Because I probably read mindlessly through that.
Section 3905. Sorry, that's all I got.
Because I feel like they always just sort of like magnets just come together and then repel.
Yeah, I mean, so we're talking about Elzar and Avar Kriss
a lot in a row.
You're talking about Elzar and Avar at one point. Is that what point is that cemented?
Like when they smash, or like when they have this conversation?
Yes, no, exactly that.
Late in the book, it's sort of like 3/4 in.
It's heavily implied, like they say it in a he says a flower away, but it's just like.
Yeah, no,
you're right. You're right.
They rip each other's clothes off and then wake up next to each other naked.
Yeah,
so.
it's
implied.
It's the same way it's implied in like Andor. Like we don't actually see it, but we know that Andor and what's her name? Because that's like the first time. Because she woke up next to him in bed and got out of bed. Like that's like one of the first times sex has been actively implied in Star Wars in Andor.
Oh, Gira and Marchion?
No. Like in the show Andor. Like
wait,
that's the first.
Oh, Andor.
You mean like on that beach planet?
No, prior to that, Cassian and the woman in the main. You guys have seen it before, closer than I have, but Andor and the woman
the brown hair woman. No,
no.
In the past, not in the show. She woke up next to that guy.
Is this from on Naboo? Is it when Elzar and Avar on Naboo that you're saying this happens or something?
I think it is actually, and I think it's the like.
Okay, Ben, is it on Naboo?
It's the lake house on Naboo.
It is.
I know there's like a lot of descriptions of like their hands moving around on each other, but I don't know.
So there's two scenes. There's one where they just sort of like stand next to each other, but then there's one. No, it's back on Coruscant, and I think Elzar's convalescing from some wound, or Avar is, and then they smash in their room in Coruscant.
All right. Well, Jedi smang. It's confirmed.
Yeah, it's like so they sort of tease it. It's like they're right there. They profess their love, which is amazing for a Jedi to do, or a story to a Star Wars to talk about that. They're just like, no, I love you. And then they do the edging for one scene, and then there's ones where they definitely smash and spend the night together, and And I think it's after he gives her the circlet.
So Temptation of the Force does have the sort of steamy romance that you want, a Jedi romance sort of stuff. If you're looking for that, which was very well done, I thought.
It is steamy from two people who, I don't know how to say this without getting too graphic, but it's steamy from two people fumbling around who don't quite know what they're doing. Steamy.
Yeah.
But, which I appreciated, which was realistic to the characters.
That's actually like the point of those.
It was very real to the characters. It is not what you would want from a romance novel, right?
No, but
it's very real for those
Star
characters.
Wars.
I love it. I'm so happy that they did it. Yeah,
there's a forbidden fruit sort of like aspect to it or something,
And we could argue about like
it's kind of corny. Like it does.
Do they just want to smash
or itself out pretty quickly? Where you're like, oh, okay, like you're just gonna keep throwing these Jedi ideals in front of you guys, just getting closer, and it's just gonna be this back and forth for a while until we finally get to the scene you're talking about, Ben, where it is sort of confirmed that two Jedi make love.
Yeah, and in a way, like I felt like Tessa did such a good job, Grattan did such a good job of like, how old do you think Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann are? Are they in their late 20s?
Yeah, that's
early 30s.
Yeah, late 20s, early 30s is kind of where.
Right,
late 20s, early 30s, probably.
But it's written. Reading it reminded me of how I felt when I was a teenager.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and kind of those first, you're mixing up sex with love and love with sex and all those things, and it's hard to disentangle all those things. And I was reading this, going like, I'm reading this, it reads so immature, and I'm like, oh no, it's because these are immature character. Like she did such a good job of like writing it very realistically to where these two people would be based on their experiences.
Yeah, I think I have the quote. So the fun part is how they sort of rationalize this to themselves, and like how it is, and like how they parse it out. I mean, the cliff notes are the too long didn't read is
because the Force is about connection, and the Force reaches out.
Yeah, it's like we're encouraged to love, but we can't have attachment. Is sort of how they deal with it. But All right, so it's like I've struggled with it too. Thought it was dangerous, selfish, something to be carved out. That's a common interpretation of what we're taught. But that's also too easy of an answer. That love is attachment, that it's selfish, possessive. It isn't. I was wrong. Those things are real and dangerous to Jedi, to anyone, but they aren't love. In my worst moments, I've loved you. This is Elzar-Man, I believe. In my greatest grief and failure, I still loved you, and it didn't turn me down the wrong path. It's what got me back onto my feet. And I stood back up and reached out, loved back. People, the Force, watched hope spread, and beings all over the galaxy keep fighting, keep trying. That's love. That's the purest form of light. How can a sliver of it here between us be wrong? So that's Elzar's interpretation of it. And this is very much how Elzar got his groove back, because he finally sort of understands himself and his relationship with the dark side here and what he's doing. And I think this love, like denying himself this was kind of killing him. But he's understanding that, like, there's another quote I won't give you, but about the dark side and how, like, why the dark side's always there. But he's like, we just have to choose the light. And he's like, there's always going to be the dark side as part of this, but I just need to keep making the right choices every time. And he's finally at peace with himself.
He's echoing Anakin, but in a more mature way, which, again, older, more experienced, right? Like a little more be able to figure out what he's feeling. But it's a very similar thing. And I think, to me, the most important line in that is around the part where he says something along the lines of, like, attachment is dangerous for Jedi or anyone, right? Or anyone. That is the key. Is, like, I don't think attachment's a bad thing for anyone, but attachment can be dangerous for anyone, Jedi or not. It's all about what you do with that attachment and the honesty surrounding that attachment. As I will always say throughout all this, is like the problem with Anakin is not that he was attached to Padme. It's because he hid that. He felt he had to hide that attachment. Yeah. Like, that was the biggest issue, which we may be running into a very similar story with Avar Kriss and Elzar-Man, even though they fully kiss in front of people in this book. Like, they're all like just teenagers in a corner making out through half this book. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just like, nope, this is right. Where we feel good about this is happening, which is wild.
All the other Jedi are like, yep, didn't see that. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Elzar leads a pretty sweet sort of, like, space battle.
Yeah.
He does.
He leads a fleet of vectors into a pretty sweet space battle at some point.
Well, I mean, so that was the highlight of the book was that for, like, at least for a little while, they took down the Stormwall.
Yeah, they had some wins. And they got some W's.
After a bunch of L's from Elzar, like, he didn't even want to do this anymore. That's kind of funny to say. But they finally broke it down, and, like, when they're like, the Stormwall is down, I was like, in my beach chair next to a pool in Mexico. With my 27th Paloma.
It's wild.
That's hilarious. Yeah. No, I love that. I love there's moments of triumph in this book, like personal triumph, but also, like, Jedi major triumph, and it does feel like, as much as we're at the point where, like, yes, Marchion Ro seems like he has something else in his back pocket, and yada yada yada. It does feel like things are starting to collapse around him a little bit, right? Like, it feels like the Jedi are starting to get their stuff together again. I will also say the other thing I appreciate is that, like, we had the Vernestra Ro Elzar-Man confrontation at the end of the last young adult book. Was that the last one? Right, where she's just basically like, I know what you did. You need to tell people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we had the catharsis there.
And we had the card. He does. He to his credit, he comes clean. He doesn't hide it. He doesn't shade it.
He talks about, like, going and embracing, like, he embraces the dark side, essentially. He's completely open about.
Yeah. And the council gives him a pass on it. And I don't think in a bad way, but the discussion of just, like,
that's when they tell him about, being a Jedi is making the choice with every action every day to do good and whatever.
And then that make you feel good? Did you feel good about that decision? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, granted, Anakin didn't feel good about killing all the younglings, I don't think. But anyway, moving on. We don't have to rehash Anakin's
right. Yeah, I loved that. Was one of my favorite scenes when he, like, confesses and he's like, I did all this, and they're like, so, Yoda's like, you killed, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, who amongst us hasn't?
Yeah, Yoda's like, we all have killed.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that is.
Yes, we have we carry a weapon that can chop people in half.
Yeah, he's like, did you enjoy it? Did you do whatever? And he's like, no. And he's like, of course. He's like, the fact that you are going through this and had to, go through this experience. He's like, that's what we do. This is what we are. That weird, paradox.
Yeah, so I think we all hands down. That's our favorite scene. I think that scene was incredible.
It was really good. Yeah. It was
sort of moment or whatever.
It found a way of like reminding us why the council is the Jedi Council. It didn't let Elzar Man off the hook for his actions. Like it was a good way of just like, no, you messed up, buddy, but you messed up. That's what you've been suffering in this messing up since it happened. It's not like it happened and you were like,
it is
that's good. Maybe I should try it again.
As a parallel to the Acolyte, basically, in terms of it being like almost an inversion of just a Jedi love story instead of a Sith, the Acolyte love story, and sort of but also the Jedi, sort of the disgraced Jedi character in Elzar, that is sort of like forgiven essentially.
Well,
whereas
he confesses his
complete
sins.
opposite direction for our guy Soul.
Like looking ahead, I kind of want Avar Kriss and Elzar Man to die. This might be a little controversial.
Yeah,
but to die at the end of the next episode or next issue or at the end of the series in a sacrifice together. Like in this weird, like going down, like, because it shows that their love is what worked. Their love is what saved everyone. And like, you know what I mean? Like, I just want this like separate narrative of just like, love is a powerful thing that can save the galaxy. Yeah.
I think Avar has to take out Marchion Ro or something.
Like that would be great.
Definite.
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to die. And so that was another plot point here. They've finally been like, the name of our villain is Marchion Ro. We need to cut the head off the snake is finally like otherwise this is all, and it took them a really long time to sort of figure that out. But now they're actively pursuing Marchion as he's just getting more and more powerful through various levers of mean-spirited power and that stupid like rod that he carries around.
He's got the baton.
Like super power. It's like the Infinity Gauntlet. That thing can do anything. It's like the strongest artifact we've ever seen, and we've read a lot of Dr. Aphra together, which is all powerful artifacts. So
no, it's true.
Yeah, we had another moment here, Adam, that I thought you'd appreciate because I know like you're one of the biggest bastions for this. They started talking about using civilians to attack the Nameless. The quote is, or we need to stop fighting them ourselves. Maybe it's a weakness we can't avoid. Retreat. Let those who don't sense the force lead the charge against them. Or security droids was in there. Yeah. And my note was, please do this. But then, so the next quote was, and this is the response, I guess, from the writers. The idea turned Avar's stomach. Retreat was necessary sometimes, but to assume it would be necessary to let others do the fighting on behalf of the Jedi galled her. There should not be any place a Jedi could not or would not go in service of the Force.
Gee, I don't know. That sounds like unmitigated arrogance and idiocracy. That was my least. I highlighted that line and I was just like, no. You all deserve to be killed by a Sith Lord, you arrogant SOBs. That is the dumbest thing. And I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner and they had to explain why they weren't doing the easy solution. And that annoyed me to no end. That made me so angry. In a book that I really loved. And I don't blame Tessa Gratton. I feel like I agree. I feel like they had to write themselves a way out of it, out of the solution. Yeah. And their solution was, Jedi are arrogant.
It was done so quickly. I bet there's an amazing story behind the scenes about that, where they're just like, Tessa, I'm sorry, we need to address this. You need to address this. And she's like, okay, what are we going to do? And it's like.
They get into writers' rooms. Yeah. They do it. We've seen them. These are all super intelligent people. And I feel like they had to have had these debates. And I kind of want, like, if I could pick, we talked about being a fly on the wall with Project Luminous, and I would love it.
Oh my gosh, I'd give anything.
The moment now I want is when someone said, why don't they just have droids or non-Force users kill them? Yeah. That they probably spent the next 5 hours trying to write themselves out of it. And I'm just like, I don't know, the Jedi are arrogant. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, we are we are the defenders. I mean, hey, I bought into it. I was like, okay. So that was in the back of my head for the rest of the novel, sort of every time they face the Nameless, and they just keep throwing themselves at the Nameless, and with more success this time. But
okay, so here's okay. Let me do the work for them, or not for them. Let me now
do the work for you.
Yeah, okay. Do the work for me. So let's say that this is the thought process. And then the Jedi, after this is all done, they do an after action report and think about, what did we do wrong? Oh, one of the things we did wrong is we could have had another people fight for us. So maybe that explains why they're so open to having a clone army come in and help them, because they were so swift to fight all their battles, fight all their battles for them. Maybe this is why they're more open to having a clone army, is because they see the folly of their actions during the Nihil crisis. Okay. Maybe it's a bit of backwards writing, right?
Yeah.
Like a prequel to a prequel.
An interesting large scale sort of like macro narrative idea.
Yeah.
Like they're better at regional security and
they're good at like
and
diplomacy,
all out war
small,
is like tough for Jedi.
Yeah. And they can look at the Nihil thing to demonstrate, we could have won that thing so much faster if we had a clone army. If we had an army, we would have won it in no time whatsoever.
Yeah. Just get Rex in there. He's like,
that's interesting.
Boy,
all right. Okay.
I'm hoping there's a Sith sort of payoff here, but like again, it doesn't seem like it's going this direction. It seems like the Nameless Stranger keep popping up in bigger and bigger ways, which is
there will be an epilogue.
I'm like, I thought this was all leading to actually they're going to start to those stories are going to start having answers, and then that leads to a darker twist.
Do not forget that Charles Soule is going to cap this whole thing off. The writer of Vader, right? Like all of the Vader, all of the Star Wars. So I will almost bet, as much as I will bet you $100 that what's her name is in Deadpool versus Wolverine. I will almost bet you another $100 in the epilogue at the end of the last book that has the tent pole thing, the finger tent pulling, finger tenting Sith at the end, at the back of this whole thing going.
Speaking of last minute, Sith in the 11th hour, like
excuse me,
we get a lot of Vernestra Rowe, from the Acolyte in this book. We get a lot of Vernestra, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I almost wish there was more of a sense of these memories in that character in live action. Like I hope we can build that history in at some point, because I feel like she has such a cool story throughout her entire life.
Right.
But I just love these moments and other moments in the books so far with her.
Yeah, Vernestra's been great. So I have a question for you, Grant. We've talked offline and probably online too about there being a Sith species. Like, are the Evereni a sort of naturally force-sensitive species? Because the one thing we know about them is they see dead people, like Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
And they talk to their own. But I mean, it's almost like a Black Mirror, Force ghost of Anakin, of like, Obi-Wan. But it's like, this is like the Evereni have their Force ghosts sort of naturally around them all the time. I mean, it could be madness, but do you think maybe they're like a Force-sensitive species?
I don't know. I don't have the answers for that. The Evereni, I think I'm just familiar with them from this book, and then they've appeared in other High Republic books actually as well.
Yeah, there was a lot in Phase 2 because we got Marta Rowe and her sister Yanni. I think.
Oh yeah, you mean the Martian Rowe?
The Martian Rowe species, the Evereni.
Sorry, I was totally blanked on that.
How dare you forget?
Yeah, you're talking about I don't know. Possibly that. It seems like there could be some sort of backstory with their planet and a destruction there or something that might have to do with the Sith.
I don't know. Wait, the mother was a Staros, right? I feel like she was a name, and she was Force sensitive. She's definitely not an Evereni. But I'm just wondering, it's like just weird that they have this like iconic Force trait of seeing, like being able to communicate with the dead. But like, I don't know that Marchion is Force sensitive. There's nothing to really indicate that, but he is able to use that rod. Like, I don't know. I would just wonder if that
weird,
might be inherent.
right?
Like, I'm just saying, Grant, you might actually get your force sensitive, like all Sith species, and it might be
maybe.
I don't know. I'm not looking for the force species per se. It's just more of I'm a big fan of those Tales of the Jedi comic books, and in those comics, there's the kind of the species that lived on Korriban, which is that desert like homeworld of the Sith, and I've always loved the sort of Valley of the Sith and the Valley of the tombs of the Sith Lords, and that sort of lore and stuff. And I would just love to see sort of that history incorporated in sort of the Star Wars tapestry at some point. Yeah, I'm sure that will happen at some point, but
yeah, that was what I think you go there in the first Force Unleashed game, which I think I talked about last week. But that was really cool. Like, I think you go to Korriban and you go into like their temples, and it's like you have to fight all these force sensitive acolytes and stuff like that, and it was really cool. That was sort of, I did get those vibes off of the Acolyte show by the end, which I was grateful for.
Do you think maybe this is like the Chiss, right? Like, so the Chiss, the way that species experiences the Force is through navigation, right? Being able to navigate through hyperspace, or at least that's how like again, I love this idea that the Force is the Force, and it is seen through a cultural normative lens, right? That like how cultures experience it is based on how they're taught to see the Force. Right. And so I wonder if the Ever Any is like, no, we don't, like, they are the Force sensitive within them. For some reason, it's translated through this talking to the dead.
Yeah.
Right. I just think it's really interesting that that's the way that species, because of their cultural background, which we saw in Phase 2, right? Like they're kind of like raised to hate the Force and do all this other stuff that so maybe that's their, like, every culture that is separate from the galaxy, separate from the tenets of the Jedi or the Sith, kind of form their own lore around whatever they call the Force, and as the Chiss use it to navigate, the Ever Any do it to communicate to the dead with the dead. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. That's why they wouldn't be Sith per se. It would just be, they're just their own abilities, right? Their own sort of aptitudes that they have.
Right. Yeah. So you think it's more of that? That makes more sense to me.
We're gonna have to wait so long to get our answers.
Right. It's gonna be what is it? Spring 2025 to get the last Sewell novel.
That's what Sewell says, and it's the only novel that doesn't have a publication date. So we still have we're gonna have 4 other novels come out before that comes out, because we still have the two young adult and the 2 middle grade novels coming out, which the next 2 are going to be like Beware the Nameless and Tears of the Nameless.
Oh yeah,
so
I'm looking
I think
forward
we're
to
gonna
those.
get and I think Tears of the Nameless. I think that, and then there's 2 more. There's another Junior, another YA. They don't have the titles off the top of my head, but one of those is a Claudia Gray, so we know that's going to be stellar. And I think Charles Sewell. So like we have a ways to go. I think next one comes out.
Wait, what happened on Moraband?
Oh yeah, like
where
they all turn into
where is it in
Stone?
Rebels that they go to?
Yeah, they're all stone.
Malachor?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a Nameless rip through there.
It looks like a Nameless did that, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We see that in Rebels is what you're referring to. And
yeah,
they find a Maul skulking around Moraband near a Sith temple. Good times. I was thinking about this series sort of like as a whole, and like one of my major complaints is just like I'm tired of seeing Jedi's take L's. But this novel, like when I was done with it, I was like, like history, this is just like any other war. It's just like, like they took all these L's, but I think history, like it's only like 2 or 3 years overall that the Nihil invasion like happened. I think they're going to defeat the Nihil, and it's going to come out as a giant dub for the Jedi. Like they're going to be like, they figured it out. Like the Jedi saved us all. And it's like, it's going to be just one big dub. And like,
you also get like Porter and Barriaga sort of like powering through those Nameless, takeover moments. Where it's,
I think you're right.
We had a phase.
I think we're on the I think we're on the upswing, right? I feel like we're on the upswing of we're going to get a lot of W's for the next 5 novels. I think a lot of it's going to be debating this. I mean, like we saw the Drenger come back in this book. We saw the Nameless. We have the Blight. So we have the Nihil. Like they've got to defeat all of these things, which they will. And I think you're right. We have to get to the point where, as we saw in the Acolyte, whatever you may feel about how the Jedi are portrayed or the segments of the Jedi we see in that series, like they are at a high point at that series. Like they are major players in the universe, right? Yeah. Like that is the point. We see them at the beginning of the Acolyte. They are.
Yeah. It's like the Jedi, they catch Els all the way down to the Fall of Starlight. Like that is the rock bottom for this storyline.
Yeah.
And then they jump immediately to an offshoot phase 2 that's a prequel. That's wild. That's kind of a microcosm of this because they ultimately defeat the Nameless there by banding together their force powers as well. Like that was kind of like combining. They were able to fight through it and defeat the Drenger in phase 2. I don't know why that knowledge didn't survive 200 years, but
very strange.
Yeah, but it didn't. Yep. Yeah, and then it's like, and now we're sort of phase 3 is like, yeah, we're down even further. Actually, I mean, really, the storm wall is like the capstone of like how much, the probably the high water mark of the Nihil, and then now we're gonna start clawing back. But I could feel it in this book, and I felt it a little bit in Defy the Storm, and it's just left me with a better taste in my mouth.
Same. I feel like we're getting to the heroism part of this whole thing. Where I feel like what we've gotten in beginning of phase 3 is individual stories of individual heroism. Yeah. Right. Like we got all of these things, and now all of them are starting to come together and share their knowledge. Like this is what we've got in this book, is a lot of them actually like talking to each other and talking to the Jedi Council, and they're all starting to like, oh yeah, this is how we win. Right. So yeah.
Very exciting. I love this book, guys.
I really did. I really enjoyed it.
I liked it a lot.
We talk about attachment so much, and this book was all about attachment. Like so much of it was, and then you just have all the Porter Engel stuff, which is great. And I mean, and we just see like Jedi fall in love and have sex. It's like, it's normal, and it's like, yeah, no, this is fine. And just like, I feel like that needed to be canonized for some reason. It's like these aren't the sort of like the celibate, monks and we know sort of the problems that arise out of that. Like the Jedi can't be that, they have to love. And I love that Tessa just dove straight into that, like right in the center of it, described it beautifully. And we'll always have this book.
All I want is the attachment between Elzar and Avar. It's like Avon, but there's another character. There's too many Aves. Between Avar and Elzar to be the reason for the Jedi success. I want that to happen in this. Yeah. Is their attachment to be a moment of heroism, because then that allows for storytelling later on to explain why attachment's not the issue. Attachment's not the problem in and of itself.
For it to be entirely lost on Anakin and everyone around him to be like, no, you should embrace this. Yeah.
Because maybe they don't know, right? Like their moment of sacrifice and heroism. Like I have a feeling their attachment's going to be unknown to most.
Yeah,
it's not going to be like, because they will sacrifice themselves at some point before.
Yeah, that's able to be the order of that sacrifice, and if maybe to defeat expectations, it's like Elzar goes first, and Avar gets to sort of go dark side or something, because we expect the Elzar goes dark side scene or something, or like avenges her,
or they're just holding hands as they drive a starship into a sun.
Yeah It's so funny. I know Grant has like, you just want to see Sith right now. You're just like, give me more Sith.
I think Star Wars has a few problems right now. I feel like it has the Andor problem, which is there's a level of sort of craft and like filmmaking sort of expertise that we're looking for in our storytelling, especially in the live action space. I think there's a Sith problem, which is the Star Wars as an IP has been tiptoeing around the Sith, since the acquisition, since before the acquisition by Disney. It's been something sort of. I guess there was a lot of attempts to explore it in maybe comics and
not really
some novels.
Not really.
Obviously, Plagueis and the Bane novels, and they do a great job of getting in.
But the Bane's not Sith. I hear Bane's not canon. Grant, I love that you're trying to give him benefit of the doubt because I love it, but no, I think you're 100% on this. They have ducked it. They have not. They don't want to deal with it.
And it's sort of like what we get, the taste we get in the Acolyte is so scintillating that it just makes, I think, all of us as Star Wars fans desire that.
Just a smidge.
That dialed up to 11, basically.
Yeah.
Times 10. Yeah.
It makes me really excited that they're going to maybe do this in season 2, right? Like maybe they're doing it, but I don't know.
They're ready, and this is the angle they want to take to do it. I mean, it makes sense. It's a little bit of a prequel thing. Let's set the stage, and then because I think it's the hardest thing to do is to create. And can you imagine
the third issue here is now a new issue, which is it's not even an issue. It's just an interesting sort of facet that I think is now in a lot of fans' minds and is sort of going to dominate the mindscape of the fan base, which is Plagueis, Darth Plagueis. Like after you introduce this character, I think a lot of fans now just want to know the sort of like the dealings of that character, what they're doing, what the plotting is, how it relates to Palpatine. 100%. And I think young Palpatine is now on the table for a lot of fans. A lot of fans are now just
think so.
Let's move into this young Palpatine, storyline. What was that? Because that's a whole prestige show right there.
For some of us. What about Old Tenebris?
Yeah, Old Tenebris. Yeah, I mean Tenebris might still be around, but like here's the thing: if we're just taking what the vast majority of Star Wars fans have seen, which are live action and cartoons, and we get, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? And you get the best scene in any of the prequels, and then you have Plagueis go, "Hello," and that's it. That is bad and wrong, right? Like you have to delve into that character more. Which I think Leslie Headland, I mean, she loves old EU and prequels and all this stuff, and she wants to do it. And I'm sure they're just like, you can't do it yet. We got to make sure this thing is working. No. It's a hit, so I'm hoping they'll let her off the leash a little bit.
He will be full-bodied by the end of this. Like I think so too. I hope so. All pieces of his narrative.
Yeah. I think you're right, Grant. Like I would say the first season of Acolyte was a 7 out of 10. I think the second season they have to make, and I think that could be a 9 out of 10. Like it could be, they could do really cool things because it will. Now you have.
They set it all up.
Then there's the fourth problem, which is it all for naught if you know the fate of the galaxy at this point in time? Or if it connects to the Skywalker.
It's the friends we make along the way.
It's the troubles, but Grant, I mean, you're right. That's always it's the difficulties with prequels, right? Of just like we know how the story ends, but like it's far enough behind that like to also you've set up so much with Palpatine all the way through. Like he is now part of the entire Skywalker saga, right? May not show up in every film, but he's there from episode 1 to episode 9.
Yeah.
Right? He is there. His shadow is there. So to talk about his mentor is really interesting, right? To talk about his master is really interesting and something that I'm more interested in than even like telling how Darth Vader became Darth Vader is. It's hard. That is really, really hard to tell in a satisfying way. But to tell the story of like who is your worst villain's teacher is interesting.
That's interesting,
right? And like it's like you can't. It's hard to mess that up because either he's really great and Palpatine learns a lot and then kills him, or he's not that great. Palpatine learns a lot and kills him, right? So you can kind of tell it either way and still be successful, I think.
I don't. It's funny, you guys. I didn't screen grab it, but someone made some fan art of Matt Smith as young Palpatine, which is so funny because we've talked about that only about 500 times on this podcast as that fan casting, but. But I'd be much more interested in what Plagueis is doing, and like what is it doing. And my heart says that Leslie Headland loves the Lucchino Plagueis novel as much as I do, and she would write sort of between the lines to like make it work.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she's trying to overwrite canon or old.
His characterization in those books is phenomenal.
Chef's kiss. Yeah.
Season 1, we got a ton of flashback storytelling, right? We got a ton of flashback storytelling in season 1. I would expect that convention to continue through season 2. So I don't feel like we're just going to pick up Plagueis from his peeking out from a cave. Like, I think we're going to figure out why he was in that cave, what he was doing before he was in that cave, what he's doing after he's in that cave. And I think a big part of the Sith, just as we saw with the Stranger, is being able to walk in multiple worlds.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
I want to talk
I
about
absolutely love that's the series, but like my 3 fixes, like again, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 for the Acolyte.
Yeah.
Only things I would sort of like splice in there is sort of maybe some more flashbacks with Vernestra Rowe and her whole life that's sort of established in the books. Make Brendock weird, like if there's a Vergence there, make that planet weird. And then I almost the senatorial stuff that's happening, the bureaucratic stuff that's happening. It's like maybe Plagueis, like maybe you fit that in there and you sort of set that up a little bit, so it's like you feel like there's that foreboding presence that's there, but maybe it's an over the shoulder hologram where you don't even see like really
you don't see the hologram.
It's just more
right.
Something's happening with it, with some sort of. There's a lot
enough
of fun
for like us
for
to
Jedi.
do screen grabs and be like, "Is that immune? Is that immune back there?" Yeah,
right. Enough to set the internet on fire to be like disgusting. Because the other thing I hear is like that happened in like the end of the season, and I loved the introduction of I think he was in a hologram earlier in the season, but the real introduction of that senator. Loved that character. Like thought it was super interesting. Agreed with his take, or not agree with it. Saw where he was coming from. It seemed like he was coming from a logical point, and I'm like, oh, this could have been threaded through the past 7 episodes, right? Like to introduce the thread of bureaucracy and Nico Damas and all that stuff. Like I would have liked to see that earlier, and it feels like part of it was just like, this is going well. Let's build this into a bigger world.
The rain court scene can live though. It can be like a proxy for Plagueis. Like it can. He is still a character.
Oh, totally.
Like he should still exist.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I actually liked it. She used a really light touch with like the politics and government of Star Wars. Really, like so much that it took like multiple viewings to even notice it was there. Like I had forgotten about like Vernestra's like hologram communications with the Senate, like until I like started the rewatch. I was like, oh yeah.
It's there. She's definitely talking about it, right? Like how much they're not trusting the Jedi right now, and there's all these.
And I haven't like rewatched because I think it was the final episode where you finally get the like panel, the audit group. Mm-hmm. Like I need to freeze frame that and look at everyone in that room because Higo Damask should be in that room, dapper as all get out.
Yes,
looking great, and just like in that room, like that needs to be a thing.
Or, you know what? Or have a chair that's empty.
Oh yeah,
at the very least, right? Because at least suggests someone is missing, and he's missing because he's off in a cave peeping out at what's their names. But like like at least suggest that like because in season 2 when you introduce him in there, it'd be like, oh yeah, that was the person was missing, and as opposed to like, and maybe there was a missing chair. I don't.
That's the thing. I have to see it. And for Grogu, Higo Damask is Darth Plagueis' civilian. That's who we've been talking about, which might be evident.
Part of the banking clan, right?
He was Damask Holding, so he was like
Damask Holding,
he was like an independent lender. But
like one of the big movers and shakers in Moon, and
he's like
the entire Senate.
But
he's like evil. He's like evil, but like normal Earth evil
hyper
that we're used to,
hyper capitalist.
Like,
wait, so
he's like Elon Musk.
Right. I want to break down sort of Tenebris and Plagueis real quick, just as we end this pod.
Go.
As we're Theory Corner.
I thought you'd never ask.
No, we don't have time.
So like Tenebris is set on like not only immortality and discovering the key to immortality and sort of extending his lifespan, and Plagueis obviously is known for that as well. But
he's a scientist.
There's also a desire to make an army, right?
He is,
if I'm not correct. Like there's the Tenebris, I think, is trying to make an army, and then Plagueis is trying to make an army of some kind.
No, I think that was all Plagueis' idea. That was sort of late game.
Tenebris
it was all Plagueis then, right?
It was all Plagueis.
Yeah, because like Ben was saying, Tenebris is like in his lab doing experiments. Okay. Like and I'm trying not to.
I thought there was like a hint of an idea from Tenebris, but Plagueis is the one who executed.
No, Tenebris is like Dr. Frankenstein, which is sort of doing weird stuff to people,
totally.
But like trying to understand the Force.
Which I love because it explains why like Plagueis gets where he gets with figuring out Vergences, like because he was exposed through all of this trying to prolong life.
And also another thing is like there was like another Padawan of Tenebris's that comes after Plagueis, like in a contingency thing, and like that's the stuff that Leslie Headland, I would love to see her explore. It's just all these weird contingency side plots. Like we know Sidious, like we've unwrapped all of like his things, Operation Cinder, like, like all these, Exegol, all these different like endeavors that you have, like all these plates that Sith have to have spinning at the same time. And, Timbers had a million of them. I want to see all the ones that Plagueis has spinning at the same time too.
That's the thing. Like we're used to that, right? Like, we know like Dooku had Asajj Ventress. Like we know that these dark side users have other accolades.
Maul existed while Plagueis was still alive.
Yeah, Maul was taking up Savage Opress afterwards. Like there's all these other, his brothers, all these other things where I just feel like there's room for, like, that's what I want to see going
dark
forward in the Acolyte.
Sorry.
Well done. But like, exactly. But like seeing those machinations, right, and side plots and deviations and assassination attempts, like having an assassination attempt and then an episode later having a sit down conversation, having a dinner, right? Like I kind of want it like just they're constantly trying to kill each other,
right? And then we're like, that was very good. Anywho, and you have to be flexing the whole time. Yeah. Fun stuff, man. Fun stuff.
I mean, also, it would be cool if he's sort of moving money around in Coruscant, right? And and by doing that, he's able to maybe be privy to certain things the Jedi are doing, and then he's sabotaging therein, after that.
Well, I would love that like the Sith attempting to sabotage the Jedi isn't something that just happened at the beginning of Episode 1, right? Like the Sith have always just been like, as much as like maybe they're obsessed with money and obsessed with power and obsessed with life, they also can't help themselves but try to throw wrenches into the machine that is the Jedi, right? Like, because they hate them, they hate them, right? Like that should be that's always there, which you get, I think, in the Acolyte, like the Stranger. He's so happy he gets to kill all those Jedi.
He's like, well, I've got to now.
And he's got to be like they need to tell that story in season 2. He's like, no, but I'm like the first Sith in how long to kill this many Jedi? Like I killed this many Jedi. How many Jedi have you killed, Master? Like I kind of want that.
So do we think Chimera is Plagueis' apprentice?
I don't know.
Don't know. Great
Super good question. Or just another Acolyte, and how he's pulling.
I think they're the minor leagues. I think Chimera, and maybe Chimera's aware of the major leagues, like the actual.
And he's trying to get there.
That's kind of the story I want to see. And then it's just like, Plagueis being like, how close an eye do I have to keep do I have to keep
could Plagueis' scene just be a mirror to Soul's scene and sort of peering around the tree, like this idea that like this is his discovery of the Vergence and the Force,
right? How can he leverage it to his benefit? Right. Like he's like, this guy's pretty good. Like
this is one half of two twins that are.
Yeah. That's, I never even thought about that. Maybe he felt them for the first time, so it's actually his first like interaction or seeing of Chimera.
Right. I mean, it definitely lends itself to like bleed right into the Lucino novel, because this could be the place that we see in the first chapter of Lucino. We're pretty sure this is the planet with the Cortosis mine, and he's been working on that. But I mean, it's not inconceivable that Plagueis had an apprentice before Sidious, and maybe he's watching this duo. I mean,
all right, okay, I got it now. I think you've sort of ignited it for me. Could it be that Plagueis made the twins, and then the prophecy is that like if you make this sort of dyadic sort of these twins that represent sort of the yin and yang of the Force, that one will be dark and one will be good, but the Jedi aren't going to kill either of them, and so you, as a sort of Sith Lord, know that one is going to fall to the dark side no matter what, because that's just how this works, essentially. And I'll just wait and watch and wait for the one that it turns out to be Osha, the one that's actually going to embrace the dark, bleed a crystal, embrace her anger, I guess, and sort of cross into the dark side sort of teaching structure like that I'll just wait for that to occur, and then I'll make Chimera and her fight, and I'll choose whoever's
stronger. Yeah, I mean, it could be a first batch, right? Like this is the first time he tried it, and it's like they got split this time, but then with Palpatine, they were able to create Anakin.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting point. It's like we don't we still don't know how the twins were created, right? We still
Anakin really. I mean,
no, I mean that's a whole
there's a debate. Like it's like, was it Plagueis? Like
I don't think you can even do that though. I don't think you can really show that. That's kind of
I don't know.
It would feel like sort of a
planet
disillusionment of the film's setup.
What? Why? I don't know. I feel like you can do that now. I feel like that if you're trying to, because here's the thing: is like now the Skywalker saga goes all the way back, right? Like this idea.
Well, here's what I think you can do. You can do it with dialogue, right? You can be like, well, you could always create like, and this is the way you could create one Force being, as Plagueis says in one moment of a scene or something where it's like he's hinting at an Anakin Skywalker, essentially, like the idea, the dark science involved with making this singular virgin.
I think you're right. I don't think it'll ever be stated explicitly. Right.
Yeah,
but I think it'll be heavily implied because I think you're right. I think maybe what we're seeing is that this is Plagueis' first attempt. He is now connected with this because maybe that they left the Virgins, right? So now he's feeling them. He's seeing them. He's feeling her gain power and is now following her, not Chimere. That's why he ends up on the planet. Right. And maybe this whole thing ends with, trying again. I now know where I went wrong, right? Because we still don't know where the twins were made. We got basics, but we still haven't, I feel like there's more. I feel like we're going to tie in Plagueis to the witches.
Yeah. Guys, we've had a long run here. I feel like we could talk for another 3 hours on this. Once again, we saved the best for last. Thanks very much for listening to us. If you've gotten with us this far. Really appreciate it. Next week we'll talk about the comics and we'll talk about Comic-Con, which is huge.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what stuff comes out of there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll learn some more stuff about Skeleton Crew. We'll see.
Yeah, if you want to read along, we're going to cover. There's a Jango Fett miniseries, 4 issues. We'll cover that, issues 1 to 4, and then the Star Wars main run. I think issues 44 to 47, which is the Trial of Lando Calrissian.
Finally,
we'll talk about that. We'll finish that up, and we'll talk a bit about. Sorry, I'm now late breaking. We'll talk off air, but I'm wondering the Darth Vader might have wrapped up too, because Darth Vader came out today, but I haven't had a chance to read it. But I'm guessing that's going to maybe wrap up.
Are they going to end on issue 47?
No, they're going to end on 50. So this might 50. Be. I will see. We're on the Raising of Exegol, so stay tuned. But definitely Star Wars and Jango Fett. But yeah, that's the thing that we'll talk about a bit next week. Is we know these main series are ending at issue 50. So we'll talk about kind of where we think it's going to land, and then we'll talk about the future as announced at Comic-Con.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Thank you so much for listening. We greatly appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week on
Cantina Chronicles.